All right, we're looking here at 4.1 going over slope, intercept form, and standard form. So as we're working on that, zoom that in a little bit. A couple reminders about our different forms. First, slope intercept form is kind of our most useful form. We use it if we're typing into the calculator or if we're graphing it. So just as a reminder, this b value, that's going to be our y-intercept. And the m value here, that is our slope. So we use those, putting the b value on the y-axis, and then use the slope to go up however far up and to the right we need to, or down and to the right, just depending on if it's positive or negative, to graph that line. In standard form, a little bit different. It gets everything in a whole number format for this. It's one we've not worked with as much in the past, but a couple of rules for it. First is that the a value cannot be negative, so you always have to have a positive number up front, and then everything must be a whole number. So a, b, and c are all capitalized because they must be whole numbers. So looking at just identifying these, first one there, if I've got the x and y value on the same side, front number is positive, no fractions, that's standard form. My other one here, y is by itself, and then it's something with an x minus something, so that's slope intercept form. And looking at the rest, this next one would be slope intercept, this one would be standard. And when I look at y equals 10, it meets the qualifications technically for both, because slope intercept, the y is on its own. Standard form, I have x and y over on the left side, and everything's whole numbers, so this could actually be both for this one. And when I look at the one that's just an x value, technically this would be standard form. Can't have slope intercept form because we don't necessarily have a y-intercept. So standard form for that one. All right, looking at when I take and put this in standard form from slope intercept or whatever form it's at, what I would do for this is I'm going to go through the same steps each time. I'm going to first move the x value by adding or subtracting. So this is a positive 4x. I will subtract 4x from both sides. That gives me negative 4x plus y equals 10. Next, I will get the a value to be positive. So I do that by multiplying by -1 on both sides. And what that gives me is distributing there. So I have a positive 4x minus y equals a negative 10. And so then I've met all my qualifications. First number is positive, and I have all whole numbers there. Okay, looking at the second one, when I have y equals negative 7x, and do that same first step and add 7x to both sides to move that x value. And I end up with 7x plus y equals, well, what am I left with on the other side? Really nothing, but I could, whenever I've got nothing, we can say that's 0. Same thing as saying in slope intercept, what's my y-intercept? Well, that would be 0. So once I've done that, that's actually the only step I've got to do, and that one is good to go. For the next one, I've got a fraction that I'm going to deal with here in a minute, but I'm going to start out the same, and that is by adding the x term to both sides to give me 7 over 8x plus y equals 10. What I've got to do next is I've got to get rid of this fraction. In order to do that, I'm just going to multiply by the denominator. So, multiplying by the denominator, I get 8 times 7/8 gives me 7x. Again, we're distributing, so 8 times y gives me 8y. And 10 times 8 gives me 80. So, all whole numbers, and the front is positive yet again. And for my last one here, I'll move the negative 3/8 x, give me positive 3 over 8x, plus y equals 3/4. Now, when I have two fractions, I'm going to look at my denominators, and I'm just choosing whatever the largest one is, and we're going to multiply by it. And so when I multiply by 8, hopefully it works out, and this one does, to where it gives me all whole numbers across, and then we'll end up as good to go. So multiplying, 8 times 3/8 gives me 3x. 8 times y is 8y. And 8 times 3/4, I'd get 24 on top to divide by 4, which was 6. So that's the big kind of newer thing that we've not done as much. We should have in the past done some changing stuff into slope-intercept form. And so on this, if I go through some regular steps, I will subtract the x term from both sides, then divide by whatever is in front of the y, simplify if I can. So that means subtracting 6x from both sides, which gives me 5y equals negative 6x plus 11, and then I'll divide by 5. And I'll check to see if it simplifies, but for this one it does not. So y equals negative 6 over 5x plus 11 over 5. On my next problem, same thing, I'll subtract 7x from both sides, which gives me negative 7x plus 12, but that's equal to a negative y. So I will still divide by that, which ultimately just changes my signs to give me y equals positive 7x minus 12. And we'll look at one more. So on this one, subtracting 6x from both sides gives me 2y equals negative 6x plus 12. And when I divide by 2 on this is one that actually works out to simplify a little bit. So y is going to equal negative 3x plus 6. And that is our equation. So you've got a couple that are graphing on this assignment as well, but the bulk of it is going to be changing between these two forms.